Look at me. I want your attention. I have something to tell you. God is telling you that every day. By the end of this speech, you will understand why you should pray more and how it's going to change you. About a year ago, I began praying with intention to fight. Intentional prayers have changed my life, and I'm going to tell you how. Whether you have questions about God, frustrations, struggles, or joy, you should take it all to God to prayer. It's necessary to take it to Him. You should pray more because it is often pushed aside. It is a necessity that will change your life. And furthermore, it is not a difficult thing to do. Life is busy. Between schoolwork, friendships, figuring out who's going to win the next F1 race or the World Cup, people often push prayer aside, and that may be why a very low number of Christians our age pray daily. See, one reason you may not pray is that you don't believe in the power of prayer. So question yourself, do you believe or not? And if you do believe though you do not pray, consider what genuine belief is. Pray from the New World Encyclopedia by Duncan Wagnalls says that true belief leads us to seek God's presence, to know Him. So to believe and have faith in God is to love God. And furthermore, in John 14:23, Jesus tells us, anyone who loves me will obey my teaching. The problem is we often don't know what it means to obey God. We are comfortable where we are, frankly. So Jesus exemplifies this, as we see in Luke 5:16. He often withdrew to lonely places to pray. He shows us active submission to God. So though many people believe in God, many believers don't pray daily. According to the Pew Research Center in 2014, of the 79% of evangelical Protestants who pray daily, only 16% of 18 to 29-year-olds pray daily. Now, this is right in our age range, excluding Professor Danner, of course. And it's quite frightening that few of us pray daily. So, in Pray by Funk and Wagnalls and the article Interfaith/Irreligious by Kathleen Black from the Claremont School of Theology, it's agreed that prayer, regardless of religion, is symbolic of one's faith and grows one's relationship with God. So, therefore, a life of prayer is demonstrative of one's faith. Prayer's necessity is a necessity to those pursuing God, and it's demonstrated by the life of Jesus. I'm about to tell you how prayer will change you. Change happens in secret, not around other people. It is through intentional alone time with God that we find our hope in Him and we learn to trust His nature. Often we aspire, but we don't follow through. We talk about how we want to change, but we don't change. I've been there and I get it. It's frustrating, but honestly, it's really comfortable to stay that way. We reinforce bad habits to the point that it becomes our identity. So what we need is to either change our identity or to define it. Charles Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers, in his writings, The Secret Power of Prayer, defines it for us. You're nothing and nobody. Only as you abide in Christ are you one whit better than the waste wood which is burned in the fire. Our whole hope lies in Jesus at our best times as well as at our worst. So don't worry about the things of this world, for they're of no consequence. But as Matthew 6:33 tells us, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all of these things will be given to you as well. Now, yes, life is hard, but we were never promised an easy life. What we were promised is the guiding hand of God. When Jesus got up from prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, just before His crucifixion, the battle was already won. In the article, Some Answered Prayers, heard by the leader of Desiring God, John Bloom argues, for when our training in righteousness is complete, one of its peaceful fruits is that we learn to joyfully trust the Father's hand because we've learned to trust the Father's heart. See that we're trained for righteousness. The Lord tells us in Revelation 3:19 that those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. Accept His discipline. We are also told in Learning to Pray this, from the 7th president of Princeton Theological Seminary, Craig Barnes, that it's hard to think of anything more effective than placing a sick world back into the arms of its creator and healer. But healing comes with trust. It comes with rehabilitation. It's not easy and it takes time. So we have to learn to let go and trust in Him. Now, to do that, we must have a system in place. And we must fight. In a #1 book from both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, Atomic Habits tells us that doing something beneficial for ourselves once does nothing. Seeking to change a result does nothing. We need to change the system because a result is impermanent, but a system is permanent. The leading figure of the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther, says that I have so much to do that I shall spend the first 3 hours in prayer. And this is backed up in Pray Constantly by Martin Copenhaver, the former president of the Andover Newton Theological School, when he states that the challenge suddenly becomes more than trying to fit prayer into our lives, but more like trying to conform our lives to a spirit of prayer. We're here to fight. Do you not know that we're not of the world? We're vessels put on earth to bring forth God's glory and display his love to others. Pray, for it is war. Ephesians 6:3 tells us, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, and against the dark powers of this world and the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Colossians 3:2 and 4:2 tell us to set your minds on the things above, not on the things of this earth, and to devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. Paul Washer, the founder of Heart Cry Missionary, states that a prayerful man is a useful man, useful to God. So often we settle for mediocrity. He later on argues in his sermon that we have initiated so many petitions before the throne. But the question is, have you wrestled them through? Have you pressed on in to lay hold? Have you kept going? Get down on your knees and pray. Shout, cry, laugh. Take it to the King of Kings. Lay it all bare. 1 Peter 3:12 tells us that the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. See, most people let prayer be pushed around by their own agenda, though it's an absolute necessity in life. And all it takes is a bit of trust. Countless times each day, we ignore the Lord's call, though it's we ignore the Lord's call. Seek him. Know him. He's waiting for us to answer. Don't be like the lukewarm, for they will be spit out of God's mouth. He's the only thing keeping us from the life that this world lives. So I ask you now, go back to your rooms as this class ends. Get down on your knees and submit to him. You can't do it alone. I know I can't do it alone. Pray and rest in his presence. Thank you.